Hey everybody, it's about to get hot here and the weeds are going to get crazy. So I thought I'd like to take y'all all on a little garden tour before it gets completely out of hand. There's still a lot of projects here that aren't finished and a lot of things that need to be done, but this might be fun. This flower here, I don't even think I planted it, and it's probably something really common that I just don't know. You know, it doesn't matter how long you garden, there's always plants that you don't know. Sometimes they're a common one. If you haven't grown it, you don't know it. But this has been a draw for so many. If you can see the butterflies and the bees flying around. There's one there. There's several down here. They love this plant. Maybe somebody can tell me if you know what this is. And it sprawls. It started out as a little tiny thing in this bed where I had planted a whole pack of wildflower seeds, and I do not know the names of every wildflower. I mean, obviously that's zinnias right there standing up tall. And I put a couple other things in here that might not have made it. And I've got a couple of weeds. I've got some grass that needs to be pulled up right here. But even though I don't think that I planted this plant, I'm happy with it. And now that I know what it looks like, I'm going to be keeping it, because if I see it anywhere else, it's going to stay. It's not going to get pulled. And the same can be said for this. I have no idea what this is. I'm pretty sure that this is some type of weed, but if you see there, the flea beetles are eating it. And I would prefer them to eat this over any of my other things, specifically my peas and my beans. So when I see things like this that are really getting tore up, I know it's not pretty, but I consider it a trap plant, and it keeps these flea beetles' appetites, filled without it going after some of the other plants that mean more to me. I mean, can you see all the butterflies flying around and the bees? And here's some more trap plants. I didn't plant these either, but I always let these grow, and I know what this is. This is amaranth. I planted some amaranth about 6 years ago, and I haven't planted it since, because if you plant it once, it just pops up everywhere. It'll pop up in your beds. It'll pop up in your yard. It pops up in my chicken coop sometimes. But I leave this because, as you can see, those flea beetles, they will eat the living. I mean, they just strip the leaves. It's not pretty, no. But I don't, not everything I do here is based on what's pretty. There's plenty like this that is pretty. And to me, I can stand the ugly if it has a purpose. And I just focus on the pretty. So that's how I feel about most of everything in the garden. And I've been told by many people, well, those refrigerator things you have in your yard, they sure are ugly. Well, I don't mind that at all. They serve a purpose, and these are free. All it took was some serious labor on my part to get them here and get them altered and put in drainage holes so that I could grow in them. I didn't have to pay $200-300 for this bed. It was free. People just will give away those fridges that don't work anymore. Here's some elderberry that I have in this bed. And when I started this one, there were, and you could see there's marigolds and things in there. And probably I need to get in here and get some of these weeds out. But and I from time to time I come and weed it. But it makes a great bed for the elderberry. Here I've got a bed next to the pretty thing. I guess this is the freezer section. In the freezer section, I've got chamomile that I planted, and it really went, I have no idea how it's going to do, because chamomile prefers the cooler temperatures, and it got started very late. So we'll see what happens with that. And I've got a okra, which won't be a problem because the okra grows up tall and the chamomile will be down low. And I had put basil, get these weeds out, basil behind it, and it doesn't always, I just broke a leaf. Well, that's okay. Lay it down for ground cover. That's what we'll do. I just keep bearing in mind what's next to each other. For instance, this bed, I put these loofah gourds in right here, and then more okra, and then behind that is basil. And I knew when I put these loofah in, they're going to move out of the way because they're going to grow up the trellis. And a lot of times when they have bigger leaves at the bottom of the plant, I can just prune those off. And then you've got plenty of room for the okra, and it's going to get tall, and the basil is going to be under it. And the basil is going to be providing shade once it gets mature to the stem of the okra. And that's how I managed to get so many plants in one space. It works out that way. So this is my homemade trellis for my loofah gourds. And I didn't have a trellis. I had this yarn that I wasn't using for anything. I prefer to crochet with natural fabrics, and this is, I believe it's acrylic. It's really strong though. I mean, I don't like it as a, I wouldn't use it for a blanket because I don't like the way it feels on my skin. But for this, I figured it would be a good application. I didn't have a pattern or anything, and I just crocheted what I thought would reach to the top of the pergola. And then I realized when I came to stretch it out that it didn't actually make it. It only got to about here. So then I had to crochet this extra piece. But everything, if you've never made a trellis before, sometimes you have to make adjustments, and I did. And it looks kind of wonky. But the loofahs have already found it, and they seem to like it. And it's got enough pull and stretch in the weave both ways, both directions, that it should do pretty well for them. So that's one of my trellises, and we're hoping that it's going to come all the way up and give us some shade. And then on the other side, over here, I have this trellis. This one my son primarily did, and he just threw the threw the balls of yarn up to the top, caught them, and then brought them down to little nails that are down here at the bottom, nailed in to, let's see if we can find one or we can see it. They're kind of nailed in down there at the end of the deck. And then after he got the vertical done, he ran through with horizontal lines, lateral lines, and wove them. And they're doing really good so far. I think I planted these are kikenda, and these are edible. I mean, loofah are too, if you eat them when they're young, but I've heard that kikenda is a much better eating gourd. I've also heard, this is my first year growing them, and I've heard that they can get 5 feet long and still be edible, the actual fruit. So we're excited about that. And what I've seen so far, and I didn't know this because I don't really grow a lot of gourd, is that they bloom. You see, it's all like closed up and dying now, but they bloom at night, and it's so lovely to see. I can see them out of that's my bathroom window there, and at night when I look out here, I see all the blooms open, and it's so beautiful, big white blooms. So between the loofah gourds and the kikenda, we're hoping that they're going to grow up and they're going to cover this. And we're going to have a nice shaded area under here. And I'm not sure if we're going to do a picnic table up here on the deck under it, or if we're going to do hammocks. The kids are obviously voting for hammocks. So I've got, just temporarily, because I couldn't figure out where else to put this, a mandevilla right here. And then I had a bunch of marigold seed that I'd collected last year from our marigolds. And me and my daughter came out here and just took the mason jar that we had full of seeds and just sprinkled it all over. Now, once again, I did not think that they would sow this heavily. But goodness, I mean, this is thick. And they need to be weeded again. I think it's been about a week and a half since I weeded them. And I can see there's some weeds. There's Florida Bethany right here. And I'm not sure the name of this one, but it's irritating. There are some bee balms in here. And some other wildflowers. There's also weeds. And I'm waiting. I'm not familiar with all of the wildflowers that I sowed in here. And because I'm not sure exactly what they're supposed to look like, I'm waiting for the weeds and them to sort of mature a little bit, so it'll be easier for me to tell the difference before I weed them. Nothing hurts my heart more than realizing that I have yanked up a plant that I actually intended to grow. So I'm going to wait for those to mature. And then I've got some Miss Oklahoma canna lilies over here. And they're starting to get going pretty good. They're starting to get established pretty well. And I still need to weed out here. But this is not an area that we're really focusing on quite as much. It's just a spot that we just put things out. My daughter Sophia, who absolutely loves sunflowers, came and planted a bunch of sunflower seeds over here. And they're looking pretty good. They're doing pretty well. I think they're going to be doing pretty good. It looks like they're going to bloom soon. And more marigolds just all over the place. I've got some more roselle over here. And it's doing pretty good. This area isn't mulched at all. We haven't mulched it or, really spent much time on it. But so everything out here that's thriving, we're glad to see. And over here we have some more chamomile. I don't think this chamomile is really going to take off really well. But we'll see. Hopefully with it being under the eave of the house, that'll help shade it from the brightest of the sun and give it a little longevity. So that's this spot. Next one is this parsley that brought itself up. I grow so many herbs that a lot of times they'll just volunteer themselves in the winter. And parsley's famous for doing that. The interesting thing is, I guess my dill was so overloaded that some of the little eastern black swallowtails decided they'd move to the parsley. And I don't mind that at all. I've already used quite a lot of parsley off of this plant. And now I'm just waiting for it to go to seed. So I'll have seed for next year. I really try to always let everything, if I've used it to as much as I want from it, if I've harvested the amount I want, I try to let everything go to seed so that I can save seed, because you just can't be sustainable as a gardener if you're not saving seed. I feel like it's such an important thing. We've got some cilantro here that's decided it's ready. It's about to bolt, as you can see, and I don't mind. more parsley, and this one's just huge. And I have other things in here. This bed really was just for this aronia berry that I had here. And then everything else just sort of volunteered itself into the bed. And I can't bring myself to pull plants up. I just can't. Unless it's a noxious weed or something that's, not beneficial to me or pollinators, then it goes. Now this bed I'm about to flip, I had a whole lot of parsley and cilantro on this side, and it got really big and it went to seed, and I've pulled it to dry the seed and save it. And the rest of this is, I've still got some parsley here, and the big parsley, but under that is onions. And we use these onions for scrambled eggs and soups and all kinds of things. But I also, to have a bed just devoted to these onion greens, that's just, I need the space. So I often, interplant annuals in with the perennials, like these onions are perennials. I often will interplant. And I think down this side, I'm going to be replanting another succession of cilantro, because we do love cilantro. And then we're going to pass back by the dill with all the sweet little babies. Aren't they sweet? And then in this bed, this is one of my oldest beds, and it's kind of looking worse for wear. But there again, I don't really mind. It's still a great place to plant. And I've got a lot of field peas in here that I'm very happy with. Again, didn't really pay attention to plant spacing, just put it all in, and it's all doing well. It doesn't seem to have any real deficiencies. There's a couple things in here I need to yank out, and I do. Usually I try to do my weeding in the late afternoons when the sun's not quite so hot. Here in South Carolina, we just can't spend all day in the garden. When you're in the heat of the day, it's just rough. These are tomatillas that have brought themselves up, and there again, the flea beetles got them. I never am able down here in South Carolina to get tomatillas to a harvestable stage because of the bugs are so rough. There's just some things I can't grow because of the pest pressure. See, I've got basil in here with a bed of asparagus, and usually I have absolutely no problems with my asparagus, but this year, and it happens, nature's what's the word? Cyclical. Nature has a cyclical pattern, and you will do great with a plant for years, and then maybe one year have a year like this where the bugs come and just destroy. I've had this asparagus for 7 years, and this is the first year that it's been set back to this point, but that's okay. I interplant, so I've got strawberries underneath it doing just fine, and next year they'll probably do better than the years previous. I love basil. You'll see it in almost every bed because I like to drink basil tea, and I put it just about everywhere. Now here is my oregano bed, and I'm gonna have to step back because this oregano has well, it's gone wild. What else could I say? This oregano is just, I used to have 3 in here, and this one over here went insane, so I took the one that I had, and that's kind of a blank spot now, out, and this one came moving in, and now this one in the front I think is being shaded out too, and I might end up having to move it as well. This one oregano is just it's a monster. And it got so big, it was, I'm going to say about that tall. It got so big that the rain came. We had a few days of heavy rain, and it flopped the sides of it over, kind of pushed it out. But then now it's given the heart of the plant more sunlight, and it's going to send out a lot of new growth. I think this is a palmetto that was probably seeded by a bird. I have a lot of palmetto trees, and the birds just put those seeds everywhere. Over here I have radishes. Now the greens aren't looking great because they're getting nibbled on, but we've been getting some really good radishes from this bed, and they're very sweet. You know, when you grow radishes without chemicals to keep the bugs off, the plant might look ugly, but it makes the vegetable, the root, so sweet and tasty, and it's spicy and sweet at the same time. It's lovely. Here I've got a lot more basil, and a random pea that is, I don't know how that got there. I did not plant it there. Planted peas in the next bed, more basil. Got a bunch of chicory. I used to grow a couple different beds of chicory. I was going to use it as a coffee substitute when I was trying to get off the coffee. But I've discovered I really just deeply don't want to get off the coffee. I enjoy it. It's one of the few things that, that's my addiction, and I think I'll keep it. Thank you very much. I put a little bit of peas over here. I wasn't expecting anything from them. Really, it was old seed. And I didn't think it would come up at all. Sometimes I do that. I'll have old seed and I'll think, well, I'll just throw it in there and see what happens. And it surprises you sometimes. It really does, because the same thing happened in this bed over here. I'll show you. I had a whole bunch of cucumber seed, and it must have been 5 or 6 years old. And I threw it in here. Now, right now, the sun's starting to come out heavy, and the leaves are starting to look sad and droopy. But they're actually doing quite well, better than, I didn't even think they'd come up. 7-year-old seed, who would think that would germinate? But it did. And they're doing, I need to show them where the fence is, so they can get up it. But better I do that when I don't have the phone in my hand. This is a volunteer sunflower. I don't know. Sometimes they just jump up wherever they want to. It's just the way plants are. They're silly that way. But isn't it pretty?